This is Point Blank at KTN News here at the Nairobi Serena. Mheshimiwa, as we wind up the issue of political formations, you saw this week, just past, the Mount Kenya region held their first major economic forum. Wiper Democratic Movement has been holding its meetings to bring themselves together. In the coastal region, Joho and his colleagues have been getting together to put their region together. And Musalia Mudavadi and his contingent have also been able to start making. What developments are happening in the Rift Valley? The only thing tunasoma Rift Valley ni mahindi imeenda juu na fertilizer watu wamekula What's happening in your region?
Actually, I'm happy you mentioned the issue of fertilizers and we are looking at the issues affecting our people first. In terms of the economy, where I come from, the issue of livestock marketing and that kind of stuff. But even as we do that, politics is always the elephant in the room, and we are looking at issues moving forward. For us in KANU and friends of KANU, we are talking to Kenyans. You saw the other week we were in Eldoret for 2 days. Ziwa, and we received delegations from Nandi. Very respectable people came from Nandi. There were delegations from West Pokot, and there are discussions that are going on with Chama cha Mashinani, led by Governor Isaac, and with a very boisterous now, very loud new member of that party in the name of Buzeki. And there are very good developments going on. You saw the last week, the return of Mheshimiwa Musa Sirma from his return to KANU. And as we speak, the Deputy President had to run to Lama Ravine to try and see whether he can salvage anything after Musa Sirma has returned to KANU. So that tells you that what we are doing is right. And we are quietly doing that without disrupting the development issues.
So as we move on, yes, you are saying we will see more activity in Rift Valley as a region?
Of course, moving forward, because we are moving closer and closer to that defining moment, most definitive elections in our country. So we are engaging like-minded leaders. And we are also busy trying to show Kenyans what we are made of.
Now, Mheshimiwa, I want to come to this matter of your bill.
Yes.
You had published a bill to challenge or to introduce a different form of the executive. Not what the current constitution provides, the 2010. What is the state of your bill, and what are you up to on it?
I am a believer in the parliamentary system of government. As a student of political history myself, I have read a lot and studied a lot about systems that work elsewhere in other jurisdictions. And when you do comparative political analysis all over the world, the system that works is a parliamentary system because it's more accountable.
For Kenyans who don't know, what was your bill like?
So I did a bill. I did a lot of interviews on that bill, but I can just say briefly that I'm proposing the creation of a position of a prime minister who is a member of parliament, and the ministers to come from parliament. And we have some kind of a ceremonial figure in terms of the head of state, but the day-to-day running of government is done by a prime minister who is an elected member of parliament, who can be removed, but government still runs. And therefore, the day-to-day running of affairs of government is done by that prime minister. And it's a person who can be held to account by members of parliament, because the point of representation is parliament. That's where Mwananchi sits through the elected representatives.
So where has your bill reached, and what is the status?
They decided to play politics with my bill. It can be very frustrating as a member of parliament sometimes to bring a private member's bill, frustrating both in our standing orders, frustrating both also in terms of the politics of it, because you know it's not a small matter, it's a weighty matter. So they said there have been many other attempts to bring issues about the...
Does your party, KANU, hold the same view that you have?
Yes and no.
Because the Building Bridges Initiative,
yes.
I understand as a party you're going to take your views.
Yes. Actually, KANU presented already the Building Bridges Initiative. It borrowed heavily from my bill, but we are not fundamentally we are fundamentally in agreement, but not 100% in agreement, because there are some who think that we go for a hybrid system. One thing that we are agreed about as Kenyans, and is that the current system of president and deputy, the current presidential system is not sustainable in terms of the tribal nature of our politics. We will always have a situation of exclusion. Some communities will feel excluded from government if we continue with this kind of system. So what is agreed amongst communities and amongst the leadership throughout the country is that this system is not sustainable.
So Mheshimiwa, point blank, is Mheshimiwa Kamket going to support a referendum? Is there unanimity across you and the people you're speaking to behind the scenes and the views of the BBI? Can you say a referendum is likely?
It's inevitable, and it's a matter of when, not if, in my view. Because, like, as I said, the system that we gave ourselves cannot be sustained, given the tribal nature of our politics. Okay, so I believe even the president has already known this matter, and it is only the megalomaniac in the name of the deputy president who wants to use this current system. But every other Kenyan.
But he has said, Mheshimiwa, point blank, he says that this is a scheme to stop him.
That's why I'm saying, you know, let me just talk about the cause.
That is why I'm saying, yes.
Yeah. So everybody accepts that the system we have is not sustainable. So I believe it's just a matter of time before when the Building Bridges Initiative finish their stuff, they'll come up with their findings, and I believe that Kenyans will.
If you give your prediction, Kibaki and Odinga, when they supported the 2010 Constitution, they got more than 60%, over 63% of the country behind. In your sense, what percentage of the country do you think will support a referendum and an overhaul of the executive? Can you hazard a guess?
That's a bit difficult, but what I know is that the general feeling, even if you walk in the streets of anywhere, or major cities, even in the villages, everybody, you know, the problem with the constitution we have is that it was the fight for a new constitution in the first place was not an honest fight. It was not an honest fight.
Yeah.
There were issues.
Yeah, but what I was only asking is the likelihood of success.
Yeah, very high.
Oh, I
mean, it's like a given.
Okay, I want to move Mheshimiwa to census. It's been a very controversial issue. I don't know, with other people saying census are brought in to doctor. And what is KANU's view? What is your view on the census that are mandatory every 10 years?
The census is census, really, in my view.
Are you going to go biometrics? I mean, what do you support?
It is, biometric is good, but the logistical issues involved, if IEBC was struggling in terms of costs and logistical issues, other logistical issues, with about 8 million or 11 million voters, right? How about the entire nation? So the biometric would be ideal, but there are other issues, like for instance, infants. How do you capture the fingerprints of infants who have just been born, and those are Kenyans? How do you, there are people who actually who have issues with their fingerprints. Those who hold djembe for a while, juakali people who, so there are issues that involve, there are logistical issues, but is the ideal, but I doubt whether we can even afford it in terms even of the costs.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the mechanics of the census to be negotiated, but the principle is that must be done, should be done. Mheshimiwa, I need to bring you up to this issue, not just of the laws, but the way in which it seems the corruption. You know, Kenyans are becoming, I don't want to use the word hopeless referring to my fellow Kenyans, but losing hope. I mean, it cannot be that every single day, corruption case. And then they look at Parliament and they say, now these guys, they are taking care of themselves, forgetting even what the president is going through. Generally, is leadership failing the country, from Parliament to the executive? Because you know, the idea that the resources of this country are only going to some areas, to some people, and what is meant for Mwananchi is plundered and stolen. So let's deal first with the issue of corruption, and then why leaders are not being sensitive to overspending. And
it will take, I've been listening to President Kenyatta I've seen him cut a very frustrated figure on this matter. But I think on matters corruption, sometimes it takes some bit of benevolent dictatorship to handle these matters. It will take some bit of firm decisions and let whatever happens, happen. So I personally believe that the president is about to do something that Kenyans will be shocked, and that we will be shocked, but we will be in full support. So I believe that it will take very firm decisions from him to deal with even his closest political friends. He's been saying it, but those who think that they can manipulate the system, I think they'll be in for a rude shock.
Because Mheshimiwa, let me point blank, if 4 cabinet secretaries can go within a day to Kiamburu to answer an allegation of a murder plot, why should it take 5 months to send a same cabinet secretary to answer charges of corruption that have been widely spoken about, the dam scandal? What can you tell the president?
I think also what you don't want to do is, I listened to the president when he came to Parliament on the State of the Nation address. I listened to him very keenly, and I got the view that what he doesn't want, and that's what anybody would wish him for, and would wish the country for. We don't want a situation where we are creating heroes out of corrupt individuals, that you're taken to court and you're arrested, taken to court, and within a matter of days, you're out on bond, and you go and celebrate with your people. And I think what they are doing is to get all the facts right, all the evidence right, to the extent that when you are caught, my friend, moving forward, I believe, and that we will be...
But Mheshimiwa, I have to ask you point blank, because everyone is watching. What about Chapter 6 of the Constitution? The president does not need to wait for Kinoti to take you to court to tell you to step aside. But this is... The president has intelligence services. Even they have been brought up in this murder case. The National Intelligence Service has been brought in to contribute. My question is it not a failure of Uhuru Kenyatta not to crack the whip? Because even on the principle of stepping aside or removing or sacking a cabinet secretary, he does not have to wait for the case to go through.
My friend, this is the Republic of Kenya, where nobody steps aside, where nobody takes responsibility. That has been our unfortunately our culture. But I believe very shortly you will see things that you've not seen before.
Lakini hiyo mambo ya chapter 6 unahepa.
No, what I'm saying is that
don't you must say, speak the truth to the president.
You know, at the end of the day, of course, it is his prerogative. But I believe he has enough intelligence, is briefed enough to know what's going on. But also, there is the issue of the loss of natural justice, that you must not condemn anybody unheard. That is there in the Constitution, in our Bill of Rights. So you'll find that now I think the energy that has been invested is on investigation, and that's why of late I have not heard the DCI and Banakinoti and the other gentleman Haji. I've not heard them speaking much of late, but I think that is just a lull before a major storm that is building.
Mheshimiwa, I want to ask you about your colleagues in the National Assembly and the Senate. Kenyans feel that whereas the president can be criticized on going slow on corruption and so forth, that you as leaders have not helped. Because in the middle of this crisis, when the country is crying about corruption, etc., you're adding salaries. Now you have just added house allowance. Now there is even night. I don't want to ask what happens at night. Well, people should be home. You're adding night allowances. There's a feeling of a gluttonous parliament, a class of leadership that is just taking and taking from the public.
No, I think that this issue of house allowance for members of parliament and this is something that has been building for a while. You know, the seat of parliament is in Nairobi. I don't come from Nairobi, for instance. I come from Baringo, Tiati. It is upon my employer, the Parliamentary Service Commission, to house me. And so that matter has been, I think the Kenyans have been a bit harsh to us as leaders, as members of parliament. Because, you know, the seat of parliament is in Nairobi. So we are displaced from where we got elected from to come and live in Nairobi. The mortgage that we are told about, 20, I've not even taken it myself, because I cannot afford the 20 million mortgage. I cannot afford. So therefore, you find most members of parliament sleeping in very funny places. Yeah. So if there is nothing, personally, I do not see anything wrong in trying to help members to be comfortable when they come to work. Like any other, I mean, look at principal secretaries here. All principal secretaries and all cabinet secretaries are housed by the state. All of them.
Now, what is this?
Don't you agree?
Well,
no. Yes, that's the truth.
No.
Even judges.
Yes.
All state officers are housed by the state.
What I am asking
is...
What
I don't understand is why this discrimination against other workers for the state?
Well, it seems I think it is a conflict that has happened with the service regulatory body, the salaries regulatory body.
I think it's just fashionable to bash MPs.
Well,
we are used to that.
Well, this is point blank. You speak for yourself. Yeah. Let me ask you about the night allowances. What is that? And we move on.
I think it's because the other one was injuncted, because we don't get the house allowance anymore, but we have to survive. Right? So the other one was injuncted. I believe what I have heard about it, that it's like in lieu of house allowance, because you're not getting it. So you get, for the 3 days you're in Nairobi, you get something for hotel accommodation.
Now, I want to now move on to a bit local issues of Baringo. And in specific terms, the issue of this conflicts, castle rustling. You've been seen on social media here and there, you know, being very passionate. In fact, sometimes castigating the government itself as an enabler for the endless conflicts, year in, year out. What is the state of security in Baringo? Have things improved? Do they remain the same? Yes.
Ever since I was elected, we have done a lot, and I want to thank the former IG, Bonet, and even Bonamatiangi, we've worked very, very well together in terms of trying to, we have a very, Tiaty is one of the largest constituencies in Kenya. In Baringo, for instance, Tiaty is half of the entire Baringo County. And we have a very large illiterate population. And then the culture of the gun came in from West Pokot, Uganda, Turkana. So we have that gun culture which is there. And cat rustling, which used to be a traditional way of young men attaining manhood and going to steal a cow and here and there, became commercialized, and the culture of the gun came and spoiled everything, and now there are killings and what kind of stuff. But we have fought it, and it is going down by the day because of the programs and measures that are being put in place. But we have a whole region, the entire Suguta Valley region, that is completely neglected by government. So I'll be asking, there have been efforts that have not materialized yet of doing a Marshall Plan for that region to make it pacified, because we need a lot of pacification in that region, and both hard and soft government presence in that region in order to bring them up to speed with the rest of the republic. We have the Equalization Fund, which is in the Constitution, which would have helped us to bring those people up to speed with the rest of Kenyans. Unfortunately, it has not been utilized properly, but I've now published a bill. It came for first reading last week. So when we resume in the next 2 weeks, I believe it will come for debate and possibly passed by Parliament. So we'll have easier now utilization of the Equalization Fund.
Is the government whip supporting you?
Yes.
You're not a Lone Ranger?
No. In fact, even the Leader of Majority has read it, and everybody likes the bill. So I believe that will be the bill. When it comes an act of Parliament, then we have a local connection, local committees, and that kind of stuff.
Is this current mop-up of guns, is it helping your
yes,
area? Do you support?
Yes, there was an element of arming of communities, which was a wrong strategy to begin with. I think the government became frustrated, and some politicians also decided to come up with a very wrong strategy of arming communities to fight each other. So we had a situation where there were thousands of guns given to communities and creating militias amongst communities to fight each other without them being put together as soldiers for government. So the current situation where now, and I've advocated for it, that we need to have all these national police reservists, first of all, trained on discipline, gun use, gun control, and that kind of stuff. And then trained together. We have a Pokot, a Turkana, a Marakwet, Samburu, all those communities that are, even the Somalis and Borana, put them together in camps, headed by a senior police officer. So now they do not work as militias for each of their tribes, but they work as government agencies to help fight banditry and that kind of stuff.
So that going alongside also the what you're calling the when you bring the affordability initiative together and this initiative.
Yeah.
So one is security and one is making more equity going on.
Yeah, so I think it's a very good program now going on. They're already being trained in, I'm told in Magadi somewhere. So that will pacify that region. And I'm very happy with that program of bringing the NPRs together. That way, we will have finished this issue of cat rustling once and for all. It has happened in Uganda. Museveni demystified the gun, and he employed the same system that is now being utilized in Kenya to try and bring communities together through bringing all local issues together through NPR and being put together in camps.
Well, good evening. You're watching Point Blank here at KTN News. Mheshimiwa Kamket says that he favors a parliamentary system of government but has compromised on a hybrid if that is what will take to support a referendum. Says cattle rustling can be finished by equity and security cooperation. This is KTN News.